Yo, what's up guys? You got Pokemon here, and today I'm going to be going through the OU tier and just giving you movesets for every single Pokemon, either movesets I've seen, movesets that Pokemon are running, and not all of them, but I'll give a good amount of movesets for Pokemon, besides maybe like Barraskewda, who runs one current moveset in OU right now. But yeah, so if you guys do enjoy this type of video, leaving a like, subscribing, obviously, for more content. Just kind of wanted to put out like a talking video today, and this is going to be a long one, I'm pretty sure. I think, anyway. It might not be, who knows. But in any case, thank you everybody for watching, and let's get right into it. So first off is Barraskewda. Now, Barraskewda is very easy. You'll typically, and I'll even give you some partners, right? You'll typically see it paired up with a Pelipper to set up the rain via Drizzle. And if you want defensive partners, I use Ferrothorn, as it's a grass resist, a water, an electric resist. You know, Barraskewda is very frail. Its role is to hit the opponent and get the hell out of there. And that's basically exactly what it does. So this is usually all you'll see on it, and this is probably its best set. So Liquidation for sure is your first move. Then you have Close Combat, and then you have Flip Turn. And Flip Turn really changed the game with Barraskewda, because a Pokemon that's able to not only hit hard with base 123 attack, with the Choice Band and Rain boosted, but also get momentum on the turn, makes such a huge difference. And the last move is usually Psychic Fangs, because it gives it a means of touching Toxapex. However, you could put Crunch there too, but the only thing that Crunch hits is really Dragapult for an OCO, but Liquidation is doing so much in the rain anyway. But this is like a typical core you'll see when it comes to Barraskewda. So next up we have Blissey, and Blissey actually has risen up in popularity in OU, mainly because of the item Heavy Duty Boots. While Chansey is bulkier because of a Violite, Heavy Duty Boots being able to avoid hazards is such a big thing for Blissey. It makes it such an incredible Pokemon. There's a few sets it can run. So typically one set you'll see, or one set you saw before, was let me put the moves. It's Seismitoss, Toxic will let you hit your ghost types besides like Aegislash, Volcarona as well, and then you have Soft Boiled for your healing, and then you'll have Teleport, and Teleport gives you that momentum, right? That -6 switch, so you can bring in something else. It'll be your physical wall for the team. Of course, there are some variants that are running instead of even Teleport, or instead of even Toxic, they're running Shadow Ball. And Shadow Ball is your means of making sure that Sub-Calm Mind or Sub-Nasty Plot, well, specifically Sub-Nasty Plot, Spectrier can't beat you, or even Taunt Spectrier can't beat you. And of course, there's always Stealth Rock if you don't want to run Teleport, but I think that it's kind of useless on a set. Thunder Wave is always an option as well. I've seen some also tech Flamethrower as a means of dealing with Ferrothorn. It just depends what's necessary and what's useful in the metagame, but this is typically what Blissey will do. You may see a Wish Soft Boiled, Seismitoss, and then like Toxic type of thing, and this would probably be more of like on a stall team if you want to use it as a Wish Passer, because this is legal. I'll show you. See, it's a legal set together, and then you may even see a Cleric move on it, right? So like Aromatherapy. Is it Aromatherapy or Heal Bell that's legal with this? Yeah. Okay, cool. So you may even see like Aromatherapy, and again, maybe not Wish, but like Status, I would toss. So these are all like what Bliss is gonna run. It's gonna be your special wall, but run physical defense. That way you can take random physical hits just because of your high base HP stat. This is usually all you'll see with Blissey. The occasional counter, in terms of like toss-up moves, you might see an occasional counter on it, and that's about it. Like that's typically it. I sometimes when I want to run offense, but I want Blissey, before we had Teleport, I used to run Healing Wish on it, as it gave me a means of helping out the rest of my team. So Buzzwole is pretty cool, because Buzzwole is like a Pheromosa check. It was a lot better a few weeks ago when Kyurem Black and Zygarde were allowed in the tier, but it's still a pretty good check to Pokemon like Garchomp, decent versus Barraskewda. Landorus, it's good versus, though it has to watch out for Toxic. With Rocky Helmet, it's good versus Melmetal too. So the items you'll see typically on it are Rocky Helmet, Leftovers, or Heavy Duty Boots if you're really that worried about hazards. So this is more of a defensive Buzzwole, right? And some of them will run like up to 220 speed or more, as a means of outspeeding Landorus, and like, you know, typically something like this with Drain Punch for recovery, You'll see Ice Punch there for Landorus, and again, it was more common when there was Zygarde. Also helps check Dragonite, that you have to watch out for Dual Wing Beat. And then you have Roost, and then last move could be Bulk Up. Another thing that's possible, Earthquake is there for Magearna, and if you don't want to run Ice Punch now, because I mean it still hits obviously like Dragonite, but Landorus, Dragapult, the dragons. One other thing I've seen when it came to Buzzwole was speedy variants that are running like damn near max speed, so that way they can Stone Edge. Obviously the EV spread isn't correct, and I don't feel like making the proper one, but so they could Stone Edge Moltres. Physically defensive Moltres is one of the best Buzzwole answers, as it resists all its stab moves, most of its other moves as well, and they'd run something like that. Now if you are running like this much speed, I'd also run like Earthquake on it too, as Earthquake will allow you to hit Magearna for decent damage. Of course, that's if you want to run like defensive. This EV spread isn't like the correct one, by the way. It'd probably run some attack and HP, but you would want more speed than Mag if you're running that. Of course, there's also the option of choice ban Buzzwole, and I've seen close combat as a tech too, but close combat, Earthquake, Ice Punch, Stone Edge, something like this. Leech Life is also a decent option as well. You would run Jolly though, because you're faster than Heatran, so it's a pretty important speed tier. So something like this. The only reason they would run Earthquake is because it allows it to hit Aegislash as well as Tox effects. But if you don't care about hitting Aegislash, you can always run Thunder Punch too. And Thunder Punch gives you Pelipper as well as Moltres, so it allows you to drop Stone Edge, and you can run Leech Life here. But Bug isn't the strongest one. Poison Jab is also an option here too. It's like something like this, like Elemental Punch is close combat. So that'll give you, the Poison Jab gives you Fairy coverage, so Clefable, excuse me, not Clefairy, as well as like Tapu Fini. So those are mons that come to mind when it comes to that. Cinderace, really cool to see it back. Nobody was going to run Blaze right now because this ability is legal. Typically, you'll see heavy duty boots, and right now, the most common set I'd say is Pyro Ball, U-Turn. I want to say you run High Jump Kick and either Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is there for Spectrier. A High Jump Kick is there for Heatran, Tyranitar, things like that. However, these moves can also be teched for potentially Gunk Shot. And Gunk Shot can go over either Sucker Punch or this, but Gunk Shot gives you, again that way of hitting fairies, but also you get that stab Gunk Shot to 2-hit KO Moltres and potentially poisoning it too. So those are all options there. Choice Ban is also an option here, and again, you can play between these. This can be High Jump Kick too. Zen Headbutt is also an option for Cinderace as well, but I think that it's really, really weak. And I know that it's really, really weak, but it is always an option too. But it's very weak, and it doesn't really let you beat Pex unless you're running like bulk up variants, which can get up multiple. And you may see the occasional on heavy duty boost. Maybe if they're using it on offense, you might see the occasional court change, like something like this, and that'll let you get rid of their hazards. I think Jolly should be ran at the moment because Latios is around, and you can run U-Turn to outspeed that. But yeah, this is. Usually Pyro Ball and U-Turn are going to be on every single set, and the other moves are toss-ups between High Jump Kick, Sucker Punch, Gunk Shot, Court Change. And again, Choice Band would do something similar. I've seen Agility plus Electro Ball too. Not the hugest fan when it comes to that set, but it can do its thing. And again, Bulk Up can also do something very, very similar. I have OU. And like Zen Headbutt, again, always an option on that type of thing. If you're running Zen Headbutt, you probably want Adamant Nature, just because you'll do more to Pex. So Clefable, this is probably like the best mon in OU, right? So what's that I'm really liking right now is Stealth Rock Knockoff, Moonblast, and Softboiled, and physically defensive. So this gives you your with Rocky Helmet. This gives you your Shifu check, but this also lets you punish things like Pheromosa from going for U-Turn or close combat, because if they go for it and you don't have your Rocky Helmet, they will, they'll switch out. They won't take any damage from it, but they're getting the Rocky Helmet chip. That can put Pheromosa in range of priority. This is good for like Urshifu as well, because it takes the chip from that too. Knockoff is nice because heavy duty boots are everywhere, opposing Rocky Helmets, opposing Black Sludge, opposing Leftovers, depending on recovery. So this gives you the most support out of Clefable. Other options here are always Thunder Wave. Thunder Wave is always an option when it comes to Clef 2 in terms of defensive support. You can run Wish as well, Softball with this, and instead of that, you would run like Knockoff here potentially too. And this will help you support the team. You knock off Heatran once, and then every single time Heatran's coming in, you go for Wish. And on that set, you probably run something like Leftovers over that. The other options for Clefable, there's Calm Mind as well. Calm Mind should usually run this, but Calm Mind, Moonblast, Soft Boiled, and Life Orb or Leftovers, by the way. Life Orb lets you break through Toxapex and Corviknight a little bit easier. Leftovers give you the longevity. And the last move can be something like Thunderbolt or Thunder. And Thunder will, yes, it can miss 70%, 30% of the time, but also 30% chance to paralyze and let you beat Pex 1v1 if you're running Life Orb. Corviknight as well. Flamethrower is always an option for Ferrothorn, Scizor, and other steals in general. I've seen Calm Mind, Moonblast, Thunderwave as well. Calm Mind can run anything. It can run Stealth Rock even if it wanted to beat other Clefable. It can run Knockoff. So once you knock off Heatran's Leftovers, if it doesn't have Taunt or a super effective, strong super effective move like Flash Cannon, or in Specs' case Eruption, which is not super effective but a strong move, you could potentially beat it with Calm Mind, Moonblast as well. And of course there is Unaware Clefable too. This one you might see, whoops, wrong, this is not doubles. This one you might see on like stall variants teams. Heavy duty boots make sense, or Leftovers. And the cool thing with the way it was done is that Unaware can now run Soft Boiled because of the new ability thing we have. So Moonblast, Soft Boiled is like this set is completely legal, and it can run Aromatherapy for support for your team. And honestly, no, not this. It'd usually they're physically defensive, but they can be mixed depending on what you want. But Moonblast, Soft Boiled, and if somebody wants to do timestamps for this, I'd very much appreciate it. So I could just put them in the description, but I might not be able to do it because it's a little bit late. But Moonblast, Soft Boiled, Aromatherapy. Last move can be Flamethrower. Last move can be Wish. You can even run Calm Mind. With this, Calm Mind, Wish, Protect can work too. You might see this on stall variants as well. Calm Mind, Wish, Protect this, or Moonblast, Aromatherapy, Wish, Protect. And of course, there's always the option of running this set too, which is one of the ones that made Clefable so annoying before, but that's Teleport, which allows you to Wish Pass. And there's so many options that Clef can run. Like seriously, I only gave you just the bare minimum when it comes to Clef, and especially with EV spreads too. You can run a little bit of speed to outspeed other Clefables and whatnot. Corviknight's such an interesting Pokemon right now. I don't like it as much as I did before in the metagame, but there's a few things it can run. One thing is physically defensive. Physically defensive will help you check Pokemon like Pheromosa, at least on U-turns, and you bot them. And then you always run Roost on it, right? You always have Roost on it. I think currently you always have Brave Bird too, as Brave Bird will give you your way of dealing with Pheromosa. And if you're running physically defensive, Body Press is great because not only does it allow you to beat like Ferrothorn, but just steel types in general like Excadrill, so they can never spin on you. And then your last move could be Defog. So this is something you can run. You could even run, if you don't care about that, you can run U-turn support. And depending on the metagame, this is what this Corvknight will run for EVs. You might run fully physically defensive if you're a little bit weak to again, drill and things like that too. There's always U-turn could be, again, Body Press. It could be Iron Head depending on if you're weaker to Clef. I believe there was always like 88 special defense as well would help with something too. If you're a little bit weak to Lele, you probably run more special defensive as well, like just more special defensive in general. And you'd more likely run, what the hell is this? You'd more likely run something like this type of moveset, because you'd be able to deal with Lele anyway. You Roost Stall. You don't need Iron Head to beat Lele. Of course, there's always Sub Bulk Up as well, which would run like Bulk Up, Brave Bird, Roost, and Substitute. But in general, this is like the standard Corviknight you'd see. At some points in a metagame, you might see Agility, Power Trip, Bulk Up, but this is the one you're going to use mostly at the moment. I did name a few sets, but this is the one you're mostly going to use. This is an old school set. From it, I was just picking up an old school set. This is like a really old school set. It's not good. It's not. Actually, maybe not with Heatran right now, but this is something that it ran at points in the meta very early on. I think it ran it more than it did Defog, but it's usually Defog support for your team. Dragapult. Well, this is a mon that can do whatever it wants. So you run Clear Body if you care about webs. You run Infiltrator as well if you care about Substitute. So Dragapult can do a plethora of things. Like this mon is just so good at being a Scarfer, at being a Specs Pokemon, and I'm just gonna actually import them as we're talking about it. So this is one of the more instead of just like writing it, just easier for me, just for the Pokemon that is easier. But this is like a Specs set you might run. You may see it run if you don't want to run Hex. You may see it run Flamethrower or Thunderbolt over that. But the reason why Specs runs Hex is because when you get statused. Oh, also Clefable runs physically defensive right now, but if Urshifu, Pokemon like Urshifu and Pheromosa and stuff get banned, it might run more special defensive. So that's why Hex is really good, because Hex can 2-hit KO special defensive Clefable as long as Clefable is statused by something like Will-O-Wisp, Toxic. Obviously, if it's Magic Guard, it's not going to be taking that damage turn per turn from it, but that's why you have Hex. And you'll pair this with like T-Spike, you'll pair this with Will-O-Wisp Pokemon, you pair it with Thunder Wave Clefable, things like that. Again, if you don't want Hex, you don't want to pair it, Flamethrower is cool, or Fire Blast. I like Flamethrower just because, I mean, you'll get the KO on Ferrothorn if it's physically defensive anyway, so there's no point. And of course, you have your stabs, Draco, and Shadow Ball, and then U-turn for momentum. This can just as easily be Choice Scarf, and Choice Scarf is cool because it has a niche of outspeeding certain rain Pokemon as well. It has a niche of outspeeding certain rain Pokemon. And you can run potentially Thunderbolt. And I guess the cool thing about Choice Scarf right now is that Thunderbolt lets you deal with like Pelipper and Pokemon like that. But the cool thing about Scarf with Infiltrator is you'll beat something like Scarf Spectrier, though you need a little bit of damage on it to knock it out. But you'll also have you don't care about substitutes and things like that. Of course, there's other variations of Dragapult as well. One that I liked before was Heavy Duty Boots. And again, this one isn't as common at the moment, but was like Hex. This was usually U-turn, and this was like Will-O-Wisp or Thunder Wave, depending on what support I needed. And I guess if you ran Draco Meteor, you could run this EV spread, but sometimes it also run Dragon Darts with like a mix. I believe it was like Lonely almost. Was it 144? I believe it was 144 attack in order to hit KO Volcarona at the time. And then it was like something like this, or something like this, to be able to KO Volcarona with Dragon Darts, whereas your Will-O-Wisp Hex was still very strong. Of course, as always, you can run Clear Body again if you're worried about webs, but there's always Substitute, Dragon Dance, and Phantom Force. And you can run Adamant or Jolly on that, depending. Adamant or Jolly both work, and occasionally, maybe on offense, you might see Dragon Dance, Dragon Darts, and Steel Wing, something like this. And you can even see it run like Naive with Fire Blast over one of these moves, potentially. Not as common, but yeah, definitely something that has been ran when it came to Dragapult. Dragonite. So Dragonite's really cool because it has Multiscale plus Heavy Duty Boots, which makes it a very threatening Dragon Dance sweeper. So Dragon Dance Dual Wing Beat is interesting because it gives you a good stuff versus fairies, and then Earthquake and potentially Dragon Claw, or you can run, or if you don't care as much about fairies, you can run Dragon Dance, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, and Roost. And the reason this is something that is ran is because you want a way of hitting Zapdos. Jolly is actually preferred just because of its speed tier after, but you want a way of hitting Zapdos. But if you want to go a little bit more offensive, you go Dragon Dance, Dragon Claw, Earthquake, and either Extreme Speed or Fire Punch. Extreme Speed would help you pick off like Pheromosa and things like that. Fire Punch is cool too. Dual Wing Beat is always an option as well, but this is like Mono can't touch Zapdos, so you might even see like Dragon Claw, Dual Wing Beat, Earthquake as well in it too. And maybe Weakness Policy can be ran as well, but another thing you'll see is like Earthquake, Ice Beam, support with Roost and Defog, and this will be special defensive. And this could be like, again, the EVs can be tweaked a little bit, but this would be like your Heatran counter for the team. It can also run Heal Bell support. It can also run Thunder Wave as well if it wants to. Choice Band Dragonite is also a potential set, though I don't think it's as good. But that one makes waves with Earthquake, Outrage, Extreme Speed, and then I guess you can run Dual Wing Beat now, but Fire Punch would typically be what you'd see in that set, and it'd be like Adamant or Jolly. Jolly makes it faster than Heatran, so Dragon Dance Roost is also pretty cool as an option as well. Excadrill. So Sandrush, Life Orb leftovers, Swords Dance, Earthquake, Iron Head are typically your given when it comes to that set. And then your last move, it depends on what you want to hit. Because Zapdos and Moltres are so common. You can run Adamant or Jolly, by the way. Jolly lets you speed tie with other drill outside. It hits certain speed tiers as well that are pretty important. But Adamant obviously has the additional power, but the last move can be Rock Slide. Rock Slide is an option for Zapdos as well as Moltres. That's why Life Orb is also an option. Rapid Spin gives you Hazard Control as well. And again, leftovers, I like leftovers more because, especially if you're running Rapid Spin plus Swords Dance, because you can switch into Clefable a little bit better. Of course, there's always Mold Brick or Excadrill too. That can run a few things. Actually, it can run something like this if it really wants to. Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Iron Head, and Rapid Spin. With Jolly, leftovers let it switch into something like Clefable a little bit more. You may also see no Rapid Spin depending on if it has to be default for the team. And Toxic will let you hit something like Zapdos as well as Moltres coming in, or bulky Pokemon in general. And at times you'd even see something like, what was it, 144 special defense, the rest in attack, and as a means of dealing with like Magearna's Aura Sphere. Like I think it lets you live like Specs Aura Sphere or something like that from Magearna. That was always an option too. Focus Sash, Anti-Lead as well as an option for like offenses, and Iron Head can sometimes be toxic. It can be Rock Tomb as well. And then if you're running this with gravity support from like Clefable and Gigalith, you can run Choice Band, Sand Rush, and you just run all 4 attacks, right? You'd run Earthquake, you'd run Rock Slide, Rapid Spin just as filler, and you'd run Iron Head, and that'd be like, you'd just be clicking Choice Band, Sand Rush. You don't typically see Sand Force being used because the other 2 abilities are just way better. And Air Balloon could be an option as well in it too as a move. Love me some Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is great special defensive or physically defensive. Legitimately, like this thing can run a Rocky Helmet, Chopple Berry, or leftovers as items. That's usually what you'll see when it comes to your Ferrothorn. So I'll just put leftovers just for an item to be there. And then you'll see like Stealth Rock or Spikes. Spikes can be in this option too. Usually knockoff is this move. Knockoff, getting rid of items, getting rid of Heatran's leftovers, getting rid of opposing Ferrothorn stuff. And speaking of opposing Ferrothorn, Body Press is always an option for that too. And sometimes you see, this is not the set, but depending, Impish or Bold, you can run special defensive too. I like defensive right now because it can eat like Urshifu's hits, especially if it has Rocky Helmets do a little bit. And it's also good for like Barraskewda and wearing it down. Power Whip as well is very good. I think like at the moment as well, it's really hard to justify, like it's really hard to say which ones you want, right? Like I'll actually forgo knockoff for like Leech Seed, like something like this, but knockoff obviously getting rid of boots and things like that too help out, go a long way in terms of the metagame as well. Like especially I don't even see that there's too many points. Like you can run special defensive, that way you can deal a little bit, and again these are just like placeholders. Special defensive can let you deal with Spectrier. If you're running special defensive, I think you always want leftovers for longevity, and you want like something like this. I think this is like the set for special defensive. Also dealing with Lele, Gyro Ball is an option too. You can run Thunder Wave for support as well. The EVs is more customizable to your team, like what you need. Garchomp. So one set that's really common right now is Rocky Helmet. This is defensive Garchomp, but Stealth Rock, Toxic, Earthquake. And the last move can either be, and it's running not this, but it's actually running max speed, max HP. And this is a means of like wearing down Urshifu, wearing down U-turns from Pheromosa and things like that. Last move can be Dragon Tail. Last move can be Flamethrower as well for weakening. Even with this, they still run Flamethrower for weakening things like Ferrothorn. So this would be like your tank type of chomp. So like something like this, like tank chomp, like fast tank chomp. And again, checking Cinderace a little bit better, getting chip damage off on physical attackers in general. Still faster than Nidoking, which is a big thing, and faster than Urshifu, which is another big thing for this Pokemon. Of course, there's also Swords Dance, which can run Life Orb, Lumberry, even leftovers if it wants to, but it runs Swords Dance. Usually Scale Shot to give it a chance of boosting. And your last move on it will either be Fire Fang or Stone Edge, typically. And Stone Edge is good because defensive Zapdos will die to +2 Stone Edge. Moltres as well obviously will die to neutral. It's good for Pelipper and things like that. Fire Fang allows you to hit Pokemon like Ferrothorn like hard. This is like one you'll see. You might see Lumberry, so it's up a little bit easier as well. And I guess technically you can also run Choice Scarf Garchomp. I don't think it's as strong right now, but you'd run like Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Outrage, and then Stone Edge would usually be your set. There's also a Blunder Policy set that I sent to Blunder that I was going to record with, but he recorded with, unfortunately. So I had no reason to record with it anymore because he already got the the initial stuff. But these are usually sets. If you want to be annoying as hell, you're in Bright Powder with Sandvale, and you run Swords Dance. Swords Dance, Earthquake, and then, I mean, this could be your set. You can also run Dragon Claw as well, Fire Fang, and even Scale Shot just to get your speed. But this can be your set with like Swords Dance, Bright Power, Sandvale. Obviously, this needs a Hippowdon or Tyranitar support. You'll annoy people with that if it works out for you. Now, Heatran, this Pokemon can do anything. So, I think Flash Fire is necessary at this point in the metagame, but when Genesect was around, Flame Body was better. But let's talk about some of the other things. Let's talk about some sets that they can run right now. So we're going to talk about offensive sets first. It does not get Steam Eruption. Oh my god, imagine. So, because Eruption now is no longer confined to a Quiet Nature because of Nature Mints, Heatran can run Eruption on Choice Scarf and Choice Spec sets. So that's really cool, especially on things like Sun. Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Lava Plume are all options for this last set. Lava Plume is cool for burning. You need Earth Power to hit opposing, as well as Tox Specs. And then your last move is typically something like Ancient Power, which gives you a way of hitting Moltres for 4 times effective damage. Volcarona, obviously Dragonite for a super effective hit. The other option is Flash Cannon for fairies, but Eruption is going to do a good amount to them besides Tapu Fini. Choice Specs can do very similar. Eruption, I like Flamethrower or Fire Blast on that just for damage and Earth Power. And again, your last move can be Dragon Pulse if you're worried a little bit about Dragonite, but Ancient Power is strong on that too, or Flash Cannon as your last move. So those are typically your offensive ones. And then you have Support Heatran, which will run like Magma Storm, Taunt, Earth Power, and either Stealth Rock or Toxic or Protect. I like Toxic for Zapdos and Moltres. And this can run like, depending on the EVs, but you might see something like what Calm Nature and Special Defense to deal with Lele and Zapdos and stuff, and then enough speed for. It really depends on that one, like what you want to outspeed. If you want to outspeed defensive Landorus without any speed investment, that's an option. So something like 128 can do it in terms of speed. That's good for defensive Landorus. And again, this Toxic set can also be Stealth Rock. It can also be Random Protect too. I think Protect has a definite role when it comes to it, just the leftovers recovery in general. I've seen Sub as well. Sub is pretty cool, but if you're running Sub, I think you run Sub Toxic, and Sub is cool because if Moltres is not running Scorching Sands, on some sets if it's like Flamethrower U-turn type of thing, this can run Lava Plume as well over Magma Storm, so that's always an option too. So like Sub like this can be cool. I think Sub can also run a lot of speed on it, but Magma Storm is cool because you trap things like Toxapex and you'll beat them 1v1 with Taunt plus Magma Storm, as long as they are not running, Shed Shell, you're able to trap them 1v1. So I like Heatran. I think it brings so much to the table. It's a freaking great Pokemon. That's just Heatran, man. It is an incredible Pokemon. But yeah, like you can run special defense with like Lava Plume, Protect, Toxic, Stealth Rock, or Earth Power. No Z moves this generation, but then buffing like its natures with the stuff is really cool. Hippowdon. So Hippowdon, again, another really dependent on the meta Pokemon. Physically defensive will help you deal with like Excadrill. So physically defensive would run like Rocky Helmet, so you can wear down Pheromosa's. Pheromosa when he goes for U-turn, and he'd run like something like Earthquake, Slack Off, Stealth Rock. These are all usually a given on Hippowdon. And if you want to go fully physically defensive, you can if you're weaker to a Shifu. And then your last move is dependent. Whirlwind will give you let you shuffle. You can run Toxic for status. You can also run Rock Slide. The Rock Slide is typically seen on special defensive sets, and special defensive sets can even run Boots or Leftovers. And this would be something that can like deal with like Volcarona. If you're weak to that, you can run something like this for Volcarona. Toxic can still do the same thing. Again, it's all dependent on what you need. If you want to run Smooth Rock on physical defensive, that's also an option too. But this is cool as well. Toxic will help you. This can deal with like Spectre. This can deal with like Dragapult and things like that. As long as they don't status you, you don't have to run. Smooth Rock would be usually on physically defensive. Hippowdon. Hydreigon, a freaking powerhouse, and I think it's early underrated right now. So one of the sets that people are running is currently it's Dark Pulse, Roost, Defog, and Earth Power, and this gives you a means of checking Spectrier. Is it Calm that people? I feel like it's Calm that people are running. So you'd run like no, it's Timid. You'd run a bit of speed, and you'd be faster than with this like Heatran and stuff like that. You can. There's other jump points you can go for, but like faster than Heatran is a big one. And then you can run Spadef, so that way you can take on Spectre Air. So this gives you a Spectre Air answer. This gives you a Heatran answer. Of course, there's also some of my favorite sets like Choice Specs that can just do damage, and Draco and Dark Pulse are phenomenal together. And you can run Fire Blast there. And last one could be Flash Cannon. Earth Power is also an option on this, but Dark Pulse will do a lot to Heatran. But if you don't care for Fire Blast, even though Fire Blast is amazing on specs, if you don't care for that because Heatran's back in the metagame, you can run Earth Power and just Oko it. So that's cool too. Choice Scarf can do very similarly, though usually it'd run Fire Blast just because there's no point in Flash Cannon and Earth Power because they're too weak. And it runs something like this. Defog is an option over Fire Blast too. And then there's always Life Orb as well with like Nasty Plot, Draco Meteor, Flash Cannon for the fairies, and then Dark Pulse. And this is a set that it can run. It can also do Flash Cannon, Dark Pulse, Roost type of thing. So you Roost on Mandibuzz instead of Okoing with Draco Meteor. And then there is Leftovers Sub Nasty Plot, which sometimes runs things like, again, Flash Cannon, Dark Pulse, with enough special defense or enough HP. Sometimes it has a little bit of HP, that way Magearna from here can knock it out. So there's like options that Hydreigon has, in my opinion. There's other sets like random Dragonites and things. Kartana. So Kartana is something you probably don't see too often, but I love Choice Band on it. With Leaf Blade. And then you have like Knockoff. Leaf Blade Knockoff and Sacred Sword are probably going to be on most sets. And then obviously Smart Strike is your other option there. And that's usually what you'll see on a Kartana. When it comes to Choice Band, Choice Scarf can do basically the exact same thing and try and sweep with Beast Boost. With the exception of one of these moves might be Defog, depending if you're that weak to it. Of course, there's always Swords Dance Kartana as well, though I don't think it's as good because of the fact that like Zapdos and Moltres are everywhere. But you run like Swords Dance, Knockoff, Leaf Blade. In my opinion, you run Knockoff, Leaf Blade, and Sacred Sword. That would be it. And then your item could be Leftovers, could be Heavy Duty Boots, it could be everything like that. At times, you even might see Synthesis and stuff like that. Or anyway, I do think Bandit Kartana actually has a role. And I think that Scarf is pretty cool too because of how fast and strong it is. But it's not like the craziest mon right now, in my opinion. Psycho Cutlass Scope Lens could be really fun too that I've seen run on cart. We have Landorus, Therian. So number one in usage here in OU. But Choice Scarf, probably the most common set with Earthquake. Stone Edge just has a good speed tier. Knockoff, and then either Defog or Explosion. This is usually what it's running. Knockoff for Boots. Stone Edge is there for Zapdos as well as Moltres, or to KO them. You'll knock out Moltres, obviously. Of course, if you need Defog support, you can run that too. On this set as well. I've even seen Toxic be teched on it too. And then there's Leftovers, Fast Landers, and the reason you'd run something like this, you might not even have to run... like you can either run attack or you can run HP on it depending on what you need. But you'd run something like this because it'd be faster than... And it literally would be this exact same set. Though I might run Defog. No, I'd run U-Turn. Did I put U-Turn on the other Landers? Did I not put U-Turn on Landers before? Oh shoot, I didn't put U-Turn on Landers. What's wrong with me? That's like his biggest thing. It's literally Earthquake U-Turn. I don't think I put it on it. But this would be the set usually. And then again, if... My bad. I didn't realize I didn't put U-Turn on it. My bad. This will be the set, and then you might see like Explosion over Knockoff or Toxic, whatever in that one. Sorry about that. But something like this will work. Though sometimes people just run a max attack, and you'd run this if your team is weak to Excadrill, if your team is weak to Nidoking, you bait them because you're Leftovers and you just outspeed them and knock them out. There's always defensive as well. In my opinion, defensive should run more than Magearna, honestly. Like more than Magearna, more than Modest Heatran and things like that. So you'd run like something like this. I don't think this EV spread is as good as it could be. 91 versus 90. I don't feel like doing the math right now. But, or just, my bad, I just had my hand on the S button. But you see something like this. This is something it might run. I feel like you get more out of this though if you do it. Maybe do 255. 267. I don't remember which one had more. I wasn't paying attention. It should be... Yeah, I was right. Okay, it was the other way. Okay, yeah. So, Impish. Cool. So, yeah, something like this. Enough for Magearna. I think that Soft Sand is also an option, too, when it comes to Landers. Like, I can run whatever I want, man. Like, honestly, like... You can run whatever you want when it comes to this Pokemon. You can also put Stone Edge on it as well for Moltres on defensive sets too. I like knockoff again for heavy duty boots and things like that. And there's Swords Dance. There's of course there's Focus Sash, anti-lead type of thing. So it'd be like for stuff. It'd be if it's like your offensive team, it'd be something like this, like Stealth Rock, Swords Dance type of thing. And you know, it'd be your Focus Sash lead type of thing. You could also run Rock Tomb, Explosion as well. So those are just some options for Landorus. There's a whole bunch of things it can run. Ooh, Latios. So some of my favorite Latios sets right now are Specs with Draco Meteor. I love Future Sight on it. I think it hits so hard. And then because Heatran is around and Tyranitar, I think Surf is a little bit better than Aura Sphere, because Surf also gives you neutral versus Magearna. And then your last move can be Trick. Can be Mystical Fire if you don't care about tricking. Can be Psychic. And then if you don't care about Future Sight, you can run Mystical Fire here or Aura Sphere. There's also Life Orb Latios. And Life Orb can run Draco, Psychic, Surf in my opinion, or Aura Sphere here or Mystical Fire. Aura Sphere again hits like Heatran plus Ferrothorn plus Tyranitar. And then you can run Roost, so something like this can work as well, but it depends on what you want. And there's Choice Scarf as well, a little bit weaker. I think it was better when Genesect was around, but it can run Defog plus Trick to try and mess up some teams. So just options we're using Latios when it comes to breaking. Magearna, this is more annoying. So there's Choice Specs, Magearna of course, which runs Flare Cannon, Flash Cannon, Focus Blast typically, and then Volt Switch. Trick is also an option when it comes to specs, but I think that's better on Scarf personally. I think that's way better on Scarf personally, but this is an option on that. Of course, you can, like I said, run Choice Scarf with it too if you want to catch some teams off guard. When it comes to this though, you either run Trick over this or you run Trick over the Focus Blast. So Trick over that or Trick over that or Trick over Focus Blast. Then your last move again can be Flash Cannon. It can be anything like that. Flash Cannon can be Focus Blast. It can be whatever you want. We already saw there, but there's also Trick Room Magearna. So Trick Room, Volt Switch, Flare Cannon type of thing can be potential like this. Aura Sphere. If Aura Sphere is also an option on specs too if you don't want to miss Focus Blast. But there's Trick Room. There's Trick Room Thunderbolt, Ice Beam type of thing, or Bolt Beam. Fighting is also an option as well. There's Bolt Beam, and it would run like Leftovers or Mental Herb or whatever. And it'd be like Quiet Nature, obviously, with max HP and type of thing. Again, you can run Flash Cannon. You can run Misty Explosion as well if you want to help your teammates. So it really depends when it comes to that. And of course, there's a Demon set, which is Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Draining Kiss. I'm not going to put EVs for it because it all depends on what you want. Like you can run physically defensive, you can run special defensive. Usually max HP is going to be on this set. Of course, you can also run Shift Gear, Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, and again, usually this one would be physically defensive, because you're boosting your special attack anyway, and you're gonna run like Bold. There's so many sets this Pokemon can run. It's really good, man. It'll live like Landorus' Earthquake and Garchomp's Earthquake, and it can sweep teams straight up. And of course, you can also run Shift Gear, Thunderbolt, Bolt Beam, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam for Garchomp and things like that, and Focus Blast, and like. Yeah, with like Shuka Berry or anything like that. Shuka Berry lets you be, or even Weakness Policy, right? Like Shuka Berry, Weakness Policy can be run on any of the Shift Gear sets as well if you want to run them over like Leftovers or on the other Draining Kiss sets. It's a nasty tech that Magearna can do. I'm not even putting like all the sets. You can even run Shift Gear Iron Head if it wants to. Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz typically Overcoat and Heavy Duty Boots. These are like the items you'll always see on Mandibuzz. And then Foul Play, usually Roost, Defog, U-Turn. The occasional knockoff over Foul Play can be an option as well. And if I think usually you always go max HP, right? And it depends on the metagame, but you can run Speed Def or you can run Fizz Def. Again, it always depends on the metagame. I like to run a lot of speed on mine for like Adamant Bisharp and stuff like that. I need to run like Impish actually over this, because you run like Foul Play for it. Bisharp doesn't exist as much anymore. Of course, this will help you be like a Rillaboom check and things like that too. Toxic is always an option as well over Defog if you don't need Defog support. Maybe you have an Excadrill with Rapid Spin. This can run Toxic as well. Knockoff. Usually you'll see some combination of moves, some combination of EVs like this. Maybe not even that much speed. You might even see some special defense for like Dragapult and things like that with Knockoff. Big Melmetal. So of course we got to put the Choice Band Melmetal, right? We got the Double Iron Bash. Double Iron Bash put in a lot of work, right? You got Super Power right there because you have Ferrothorn plus Heatran in one hit. You got Ice Punch right there for Landorus, and then you got Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch will hit things like Toxapex, Moltres. You can run Speed, but whatever. Basic EV spread, right? You can run Speed if you want. It doesn't matter. Of course, if you don't want to run Super Power, you can also run Earthquake here. And Earthquake is going to decimate things like Age Slash. So is Double Iron Bash, but things like Toxapex as well. Heatran in the same thing. Another option is Assault Vest and Assault Vest variants. In fact, you don't even have to run like max HP. You can run like max special defense with that. But like Assault Vest variants can run like Spadef. Aqua Berry as well can do the exact same thing. This thing, Heatran's attacks. Usually this set, same exact thing. Aqua Berry is an option. Leftovers as well. Double Iron Bash, Earthquake, Protect is an option too. And this can give you like a special wall and just scouting and things like that too. Toxic is an option over this as well. I think Double Iron Bash and Earthquake are givens, and Toxic will let you deal with Zapdos and Moltres as counters, and whereas Double Iron Bash and stuff like that gives you options too. And you can even run more bulk on this if you want to, or careful, or whatever nature you want, or even like minimal attack to like 2 Akio Toxapex and rest in HP or defense or whatever you want. We don't see them as often right now, but there's also Acid Armor sets. So Acid Armor Body Press sets. That can be pretty cool. With Double Iron Bash, things like this, and maybe even substitute on it. Again, maybe not necessarily this EV spread, but stuff like this can be used on Melmetal. Melmetal is, it's hard. That's what it's going to do. Moltres, awesome Pokemon that we have now. Heavy Duty Boots, usually always Flame Body because that ability is broken. Flamethrower or Mystical Fire as the move. Depending, if you're weaker to Magearna, you can run Mystical Fire. If you want to lower your special attack, Flamethrower is a little bit stronger. And so Flamethrower and Roost are 100% on the sets, right? Now you'll see either physically defensive or special defensive. You might even see some speed for Mag. You might see some speed for variants of Heatran. Whatever. You'll see something for things like that. So it doesn't matter, whatever. Something like this. So Flamethrower and Roost. If you're running this much speed, you definitely run Scorching Sands as a means of dealing with Heatran, because you'll actually be able to KO some variants. Not special defensive, but like, yeah, you'll do a lot. And you can burn Heatran, you can burn Toxic. Well, you can burn Toxapex, you can burn Tyranitar. And then either Defog, U-Turn is an option. If they're not running Scorching Sands, they're probably running Hurricane, and they can run Defog as well. Other variants of Moltres, I think that are very good. I think that offensive Moltres actually has a place for sure. Hurricane, Flamethrower, or Overheat, or Fire Blast. Scorching Sands and Roost, I think it's really good and a little bit underrated in my opinion. And the biggest thing that I like about it is the fact that it's faster than Nidoking, so you can run something like Overheat as well to do some massive damage. So that's a cool option too. U-Turn can be on anything as well. Specs can be on it too. We have Nidoking next. You'll typically see one set on Nidoking that's usually Life Orb Sheer Force because that boosts everything. And Earth Power is going to be on every single set when it comes to Nidoking, right? Earth Power is going to be there. Ice Beam as well is probably going to be on every set because you want to hit things like Landorus, Garchomp, whatever. You want to be able to threaten Fairy, so you usually run Sludge Wave, and then you'll see like a Fire move on this. So you'll see like Fire Blast or Flamethrower. Flamethrower is okay just because it's boosted by Sheer Force and whatnot, and it's usually, this is like the Nidoking set. You may see Substitute over Flamethrower just because this thing does force switch-ins. Ice Beam lets you hit like Zapdos and stuff like that too. And Sludge Wave is good versus Moltres. Thunderbolt can be randomly teched as well. This is just, like I said, this is usually your set. Maybe Stealth Rock randomly. Could be cool, but this is usually what you'll see on Nidoking and just be an offensive Pokemon. Pelipper is usually Drizzle support, and it runs Damp Rock typically. And you have Scald, Roost, U-Turn, and then your last move can either be Defog or Hurricane. I like Hurricane because it actually lets you hit things like Rillaboom, because you can live a Grassy Glide from Bandit Rillaboom and threaten it with a Hurricane. Of course, if you want to be a little bit crazier when it comes, again, this is all singles, by the way. I hope I didn't mention that, but if you want to be Specs Pelipper, oof, I love Specs Pelipper a lot, but you run like Weather Ball, Hurricane, U-turn, and then either Hydro Pump or Surf. Actually, Surf is better usually than Weather Ball, than Hydro Pump, because you click Weather Ball most of the time, and Hydro Pump can miss. So you'd run like, no, it's not bulky specs. It's usually timid specs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Speed Time on Magearna is pretty cool, but like timid specs like this can do a lot of damage. Weather Ball is strong, especially in the rain, being powered up. Then we have Pheromosa, and this. Oh, also Melmetal can run Protective Pads. Pheromosa made me remember that, but Choice Band is probably one of the more common ones you'll see with Close Combat, U-turn, and Triple Axle being on every single set. And you can either run Adamant or Jolly, depending on if you want your Beast Boost giving you your speed, or your Beast Boost giving you an attack raise. That's dependent on you. And your last move can either be Drill Run as a means of dealing with Toxapex and H-Slash, or Poison Jab typically. And Poison Jab will give you a way of dealing with fairies, but usually you just U-turn on them, so you see a lot of a Drill Run more. Of course, there is Protective Pads. Protective Pads will probably run Rapid Spin usually in this set, but Protective Pads is cool because it gives, and also Heavy Duty Boots can be in this as well, so you can slash both of them. But the reason why Protective Pads is pretty cool is because it doesn't care about Zapdos' static. It doesn't care about Moltres' Flame Body. So it doesn't care about Iron Barbs. It doesn't care about Rocky Helmet. So Protective Pads is a really cool item on Pheromosa. Sometimes pushing it over the edge, to be honest. But this is like you'll see on that, and then you'll see like maybe Life Orb or whatever with Quiver Dance, Focus Blast, Ice Beam, and then Shockwave is a means of dealing with Moltres, Fini, and you run Modest or Timid with that, but Fini as well as Toxapex all in one. And this set is also very, very scary, and honestly, like Pheromosa can run whatever it wants. But those are like some of the more common sets you'll see. It can run whatever it wants. Heavy Duty Boots, Rapid Spin support. Offensive. Regieleki. Choice specs usually all the way. Volt Switch is the move you're going to be clicking. Now this can be Thunderbolt typically as well. Then Rapid Spin will be there, and then again either Timid usually or Modest. I think Timid is always very important because why would you want to lose a speed type versus opposing one? But the last move depends on what you need for the team. Ancient Power is there to give you a random move versus what's it called? Ground types, even though they resist. You can run Hyper Beam randomly as well to do some damage. Rising Voltage if you're running what Tapu Koko is sometimes on this set as well. Because the main thing is when you're pairing with Regieleki, you usually have like, if you really want to do something, if you're not running just with Koko and just wearing it down with common Pokemon, you might pair it with Trick Ring Target Zoroark, or Switcheroo's Ring Target Zoroark, or Switcheroo Ring Target Klefki, and then Trick Ring Target Zoroark, just as a means of breaking through those ground types. But this is what Regieleki can run. It can also run Heavy Duty Boots, and the other set that it will run is dual screens. So it'd be like Volt Switch, Explosion, or Rapid Spin, and it'd be like Light Screen and Reflect. This is something it can run with like a Naive Nature, and you can run. You don't have to run Special Attack in it. You can run HP if you want. And then Rapid Spin could also be Slash somewhere too. So that's usually Regieleki. Now we have Rillaboom coming up. I'm actually going through this pretty fast. So one of my favorite Rillaboom sets are Choice Band. I think I like Jolly Rillaboom a lot. I think if you're running Choice Band, you should run Jolly over Adamant. Main reason being is you want to be faster than Heatran, in my opinion. So Woodhammer and Grassy Glide are always there. Grassy Glide being your priority. It's stupid good. Like it's the thing that pushes thing over the edge. And then Knockoff I think is usually always ran as well. And then you either have U-turn here, but sometimes I forgo U-turn and just go freaking Sewer Power because this will let me hit like Heatran. And sometimes I forgo Knockoff and just go U-turn too. This is like some of the sets, but you can run. Usually it's something like this. You might also see Life Orb with Swords Dance, Grassy Glide, Sewer Power, or Drain Punch as an option, and then Knockoff as well. And you can run Adamant on that one too if you want. This is something you might see. You can also see Grassy Seed, or no item in general, but like Grassy Seed, Acro, like Acrobatics, and that's when like Amoonguss and stuff is more popular. I don't think it's that great personally right now. But those are like the options you'll see when it comes to Rillaboom for your team. And you can run High Horsepower, you can run whatever as well. Slowbro. Regeneratormon, typically Heavy Duty Boots because Regenerate plus Heavy Duty Boots are amazing. And it's usually Scald, Slack Off, whoops, slack off Future Sight, because Future Sight is pretty broken when you pair it with something else and Teleport. Again, and it's usually almost always physically defensive. You're going to use it to tank your physical hits from things like Cinderace and stuff like that and put in some work. Counter can be substituted on this. You can run Flamethrower as well. You can run Psychic too if you want to hit Tox specs. But Future Sight plus Teleport is awesome because like Slowbro has very like specific Pokemon that will come in on it. You teleport out as you set a Future Sight and then you teleport as like Ferrothorn comes in. You bring in Urshifu. They have Tox specs to sponge the close combat, and then they take the close combat plus Future Sight. They die. So it's a really good combination. And again, this is usually what you'll see on Slowbro. You might see it set up Trick Room as well. So Trick Room is always an option too here. And it can run Trick Room plus like Future Sight with no healing as well if it wants to. But I think you always want healing in my opinion. But this is just the typical Slowbro set. And then we have Galarian Slowking. I love this one. Not Curious Medicine, but Regenerator. Assault Vest is, in my opinion, one of its best sets. And the big things, the pluses about this Pokemon is the fact that it is Poison and Psychic. So it is naturally resistant to Fairy, but it also absorbs Toxic Spikes. So that's awesome. So Sludge Bomb, Future Sight, pretty much always on the set. Right? And the EV spread, usually you run like just damn near max special defense, in my opinion. Because you'll deal with things like Heatran and Latios and Koko and Regieleki and then Spexmons from anything. So you want Flamethrower as well. Flamethrower will let you hit Ferrothorn, which otherwise walls your Stab, Magearna, so Steel types in general. And then the one Steel type that walls that stuff is Heatran, so you run Scald. And that's what you'll see usually on this Pokemon. It can also do things like Eerie Spell, Block type of stuff, or even put Eerie Spell on this over Future Sight if you want to just waste PP on Pokemon. But I think Assault Vest is the stronger set when it comes to this Pokemon, and it's just natural. It always puts in work when it comes to the game, in my opinion. That's it. But you may see it, and you may see it run like again like an Eerie Spell defensive type of set with block. Spectrier. So Choice Specs and Choice Scarf are running the exact same thing. Shadow Ball. Hex if you're pairing it with a partner like that, Dark Pulse or Mudslap. Mudshot, excuse me. Mudshot gives you that way of dealing with Heatran, like you're gonna smack Heatran with that. Like special defensive Heatran gets 2-hit KO, which otherwise it wouldn't be 2-hit KO by Shadow Ball. And then the last move can be Haze. It can be Will-O-Wisp. Whoops. It can be Will-O-Wisp. I've seen Foul Play. I've seen Taunt even on this as well. So that's your Choice Scarf. Choice Specs can run. That's your Choice Scarf. Specs, excuse me. Choice Scarf will usually run things like this, and Haze is cool for setup. So things like this will be really good on Choice Scarf. Of course, there's also the set I like that I used the other day. Shout out to PKS. Where is it? Here it is. Nope, that's not it. Am I blind? Yep, it was right under me. Which is Defensive Calm Mind, and this is really cool because when you burn Mandibuzz or burn Ferrothorn, they cannot break your sub with Foul Play or Knockoff respectively, and then you can Calm Mind and Hex break them, so it's pretty cool. It's faster than like Garchomp and things like that too. Obviously, there's also like Fast Taunt with like Dark Pulse, or Fast Taunt with like Will-O-Wisp as a means of dealing with Blissey, and you can Nasty Plot up as well. Sub, Nasty Plot can do the exact same thing too. Swampert, another really cool Pokemon too. That's been running around because it got Flip Turn this generation, and it's just sick because it gets up Stealth Rock as well. Sometimes you see Protect on it too, as well. Whoops, this should be Protect. Sometimes you see Protect, sometimes you see Toxic in this move slot, and you either see Leftovers or Rocky Helmet, either physically defensive or special defensive, depending on like if your team is really weak to Heatran, you'd run like special defensive on it. And it's good for Zapdos as well. With things like this, but can naturally, especially defensive, will let you check like Hurricane Zapdos a lot better. But you can also, like I said, run physically defensive for like Landorus and things like that, and Garchomp, and you can run Ice Beam on. You can tech Ice Beam on it too. Relax is cool if you have Ice Beam. Where's Relax? Yeah, if you're running Ice Beam, you run Ice Beam here. If you don't need it for Stealth Rock as well, but just if like you need like a support mon that can tank hits, that can eat hits from Heatran and doesn't care too much, you might pair with Cleric Mons too. It also got bulk up and stuff like that and can run Choice Band, but I don't think it's the best. Ooh, Tapu Fini has been making strides, been making waves because now it has Draining Kiss. So one set you'll see is Taunt, Draining Kiss, Calm Mind, and Surf, excuse me. Because Surf is a little bit stronger, so you might see something like this, and it'd be like a Pheromosa counter and a Shifa counter, so you can run like bold, but you might run a little bit of speed. Depending on like things like Magneton can be there. Things like Magneton, things like defensive Zapdos, things like defensive Moltres, or you might just run fully physically defensive, or just like go down to the speed tier of like faster than Crawdon, right? So depending on that. Another set that's being ran, obviously, or one that's being ran as well, is Choice Scarf, because it can get the surprise KOs on like Pheromosa. So it'd be like Choice Scarf, Moonblast, Hydro Pump, Trick, and sometimes Ice Beam is here. And Trick can be cool to cripple things like Toxapex and stuff, but Ice Beam is good for Landorus without having to miss. You can also use Defog as well, and Knockoff. And of course, there's like support sets too that run like Whirlpool Taunt or Taunt Defog as well for the team. If you don't want to sweep via, if you don't want to use it to sweep, you can run Defog on it too, like on your defensive sets instead of Combine. Koko. Koko is unfortunately like it didn't get like close combat and player like it was supposed to, but I mean that would have been broken. I really like heavy duty boots on Koko with Volt Switch, Dazzling Gleam, Roost. I like Dazzling Gleam just to the coverage, and then like Thunderbolt or Defog. If I'm running on this, typically I'd run like Defog. You can also run like U-Turn as well in this set as well, and you can run like Thunderbolt like this, so it'd be like just your bulky all around check. Choice Specs is really good in my opinion too. I actually think Choice Specs is very good and underrated. And you'd run like Volt Switch and then the Grass Knot for the things like the ground types, like maybe like a Hippowdon that try and wall you. You can also run very defensive as well. I have a few defensive Kokos, though they were more early meta game, but I have a few defensive Tapu Kokos that I've used with Regieleki, with like Terrain Extender to like just max HP like this. Yeah, this was solid for a while when I was using it as well with Regieleki. And then you have like dual screens, which is something you can use too. So I just want to show it off instead of like going, like changing all the Kokos. Lele, this is a mon that finally is OU. Good. I mean, finally, like, it hasn't been OU before, but specs. Psychic, Moonblast, Psyshock, so you can hit things like Blissey, and then Focus Blast. That's the set. That is the set that you're gonna run, because specs, when it's terrain boosted, does not care about what you want to do. This Pokemon hits so hard. It just hits so hard. And you can run Choice Scarf similarly. Choice Scarf if you don't want to run Psyshock or anything like that. Like, it unfortunately doesn't get like Trick either, but there's always Terrain Extender 2, depending. You can pair this thing with Hawlucha as well with Psychic Seed, or Psychic Seed other Pokemon as well. But Choice Scarf and Choice Specs, I think, are the main sets. Taunt, 3 attacks can be cool too. I haven't used it as much. I think Specs is just the best set, personally, when it comes to this Pokemon. Tornadus. So, Heavy Duty Boots made it great. So if you're using it on Rain, which is probably where it excels, you can run Nasty Plot, Weather Ball, Hurricane, and then Focus Blast, and this basically hits everything. And Weather Ball in Rain becomes Weather Ball Water. If you're using it outside of Rain, you can run Psychic here for dealing with Pex, but also 2-hit KOing Zapdos. Of course, there's always the knockoff Hurricane U-turn variants that can run Defog. I don't think Defog is necessary, but you can run like bulkier variants of it. Honestly, I don't even think Max Speed is super necessary, but you can run bulkier variants, and this could be whatever you want, man. This could be Taunt. This can be this could be Taunt. This can be Super Power. This could be Focus Blast. This could be Heat Wave as well, depending on what you're weak to. And yeah, like just things like that. Either offensive, Nasty Plot, or like defensive support. But defensive support isn't as strong in my opinion, because the things you're knocking off can static you, so be careful. Toxapex. Oof. Rocky Helmet, Shed Shell, or Black Sludge. Those are usually your items on this Pokemon. So let's go Rocky Helmet. So Scald, Knockoff, I think are givens right now, and Recover. And then some people forgo Haze, which is crazy to me, but you can run Toxic. You can run Toxic Spikes. You might even see over this, you might even see, like I said, Haze. But I mean, it depends. You can run Special Defensive too. If you run Shed Shell, that lets you deal with Heatran, as I mentioned earlier. Toxic, I think, is very important for things like Zapdos coming in as well. Like, this is something that people might run, like Hazeless and Knockoff. Again, getting rid of those heavy duty boots, getting rid of those items just goes a long way when it comes to Tox effects. Tyranitar. So Choice Band isn't as common, but I'm gonna start off with it just because I still think it's good, like all things considered. But there is Stone Edge and Crunch. Obviously, unfortunately, there is no Pursuit, which I mean makes a huge difference. But Fire Punch is good as well, and then like Earthquake can be ran here too. Heavy Slam is always an option too. You can run just speed on it if you want. But Ice Punch, Heavy Slam can deal with Clef, but this is like a standard set like that. Leftovers, Stealth Rock, Rock Blast, Crunch type of thing. Crunch, and then usually like Flamethrower or Fire Blast can be here, or Ice Beam or anything. And it'd be like bulkier sets too, depending on what you're weaker to. Maybe you want a Spectre Answer as well. You might see like random Spadef on this boy. If you have Ice Beam, you might want a little bit of defense to live like Landorus' Earthquake. So that's always an option too. Assault Vest is also an option as well, and Heavy Duty Boots can work too. And Smooth Rock as well if you're running Excadrill. Urshifu. Choice Band, of course, the #1 set. You got Wicked Blow, you always crit, you got the Close Combat, and you got Sucker Punch. And those are the only givens when it comes to Choice Band. The rest is a toss-up. You want U-Turn for momentum? Sure. You want Poison Jab to hit Tapu Fini and stuff? Sure. You want Iron Head because it's worse than Poison Jab? I don't know why people run Iron Head. I mean, it flinches, but Poison Jab hits all the fairies, like, way better. It is way better. Iron Head just gives you an option there, but typically this Black Glasses is also an option to boost like bulk up variants, so you can run something like this. I've also seen Protective Pads with Taunt, and that gives you a cool option to not be worried about the static and stuff like that, but also stop like Mandibuzz from roosting and stop things from recovering. This is not Protector, but they do protect you, but it's Protective Pads is what I try to say here. Hey. And of course, Life Orb is always an option on bulk up or on 4 attacks as well. And you can run Adamant or Jolly too. I think I like Jolly better right now because Nidoking is in the tier. But yeah, that's my personal opinion of that. Urshifu Rapid Strike. Yay! So again, Choice Band is an option on this one. Probably the one you'll see most on like Rain and its Surging Strikes, Close Combat, Thunder Punch, and Aqua Jet. You may see U-Turn on it, but this is usually what you'll see. There's also Protective Pads Substitute, and it'd be like Sub it'd be like Surging Strike Sub, and you have like Drain Punch, and this lets you like break through like Tox effects if it's not running Haze, which a lot of them are not running right now. So if you wanted, you could even run Bulk Up on it too. So Bulk Up is an option too, but you can run Thunder Punch as well. Choice Scarf is okay with U-Turn, but I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's okay on Rain. Again, I like Bandit a lot when it comes to this Pokemon. And then we have Zapdos, and Zapdos is a phenomenal Pokemon right now. Static is beautiful, and the Heavy Duty Boots allowing it. This actually rounds up OU. That was actually faster than I thought, only an hour and 3 minutes. Should I talk about these guys? Nah, screw these guys. So Roost. This is usually Discharge or Volt Switch, right? Discharge or Volt Switch, depending on what you want for your team. Momentum versus that. And then you'll have Hurricane, usually, because it hits everything. And then Defog. But sometimes you might even see Heat Wave here. But I don't like the idea of letting Heat Rain. I also like Hurricane. Hurricane hits hard. So you're like physically defensive. Again, the EV spread is usually dependent on how much speed you need. But if you don't need that much speed, which you usually don't, like enough for max speed, Tyranitar is a good one, but if you want a little bit from Magearna, you can. Not always necessary, but you can run a little bit from Magearna. You can outspeed Heatran too if you want by there. Other option is offensive one, just straight up offensive, and this can be like on Rain as well, and it'd run like Thunder, Hurricane, Weather Ball, and then Roost. And this can also be on non-Rain too. You can run this with Choice Specs as well. If you're running Choice Specs, you run Volt Switch here because you're usually running in a Rain. Otherwise, again, you can run offensive with with Thunderbolt, Heat Wave, Hurricane, and Roost as well. So these are all just options when it comes to Zapdos. I think it can also run Toxic. Toxic is pretty cool too for opposing Zapdos and just wearing down walls and ground types in general. But that's it. That's it for OU. So I've told you a set for every single OU Pokemon. Hopefully this helped out somebody. I mean, a lot of people probably like, yeah, I already knew this stuff. I'm like, bro, why you watch the video? I appreciate you if you watched the video and got this far. If you guys want to check out my merch, the link is down below. It has like a day and a half left. So that link is down below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends.